Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a very special Fireside chat with the one and only amazing Tess Holliday. My name is Johanna Kandel, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Alliance for Eating Disorders Awareness. And I could not be happier and more excited to have this very important conversation with someone who I think is revolutionary, who is changing the conversation, who is allowing folks to be seen and heard. I'm just so overwhelmed and so excited and so grateful that she has chosen to take this time and speak with us just about everything that she's done, all the voices that she's elevated, all the conversations she has allowed to happen. So we're just going to hold on and wait for the amazing and fabulous Tess Holliday to join us. Hopefully she'll join soon. But in the meantime, I definitely want to just take this moment and just share with all of you. We are so excited that this weekend, this Saturday, we are going to be hosting our Not One More support group half marathon. And what that means is from 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On every hour on the hour, we will be hosting different support groups so that individuals and loved ones can get support that they need. So for more information, you can go to notonemore.co. So that's notonemore.co and see the whole lineup. And please join us this Saturday. In addition, we'll have some really huge announcements coming up soon about our second annual Dare to Love Yourself Summit, which is coming up with the most unbelievable lineup of folks. So definitely stay tuned for that. And more than anything, please remember that the Alliance is here to walk next to you on your journey to recovery. So whether we can offer you referrals to care for all levels of care, from therapists and dietitians, all the way up to acute medical stabilization, please call us. We have licensed and specialized clinicians that are ready to help you, that can help you navigate this journey. And, we're just here to literally walk next to you to let you know that you're not alone. So please call us. Our number at the Alliance is 866-662-1235. Again, 866-662-1235. So, we'll just wait for Tess to join. In the meantime, if anyone has any questions that we can address, that's what we're here for. Anything that we can do to support you. And again, I've had a few questions already about the support group marathon. And hi, Tess. Yay. Okay, let me bring you in. Our conversation started. But yes, please join us this Saturday. And we are so excited. Hello.
Hi, I'm sorry I'm late. AirPod problems.
I mean, like AirPods are always the cold all the time. So
they are.
Yes, so excited to have you join. This is a conversation that I've personally been waiting to have. I'm so humbled and I'm so honored that you are spending time and your willingness to share. But more than anything, I mean, I will totally admit that I'm fangirling right now because you have done so much for folks that I love and for a community that I've dedicated my life to. So for the community members out there that don't know who you are, do you mind introducing yourself and just how you want to be introduced?
Of course. Also, hi, Shia. A lot of my friends are joining in saying hi. So, and thank you for having me be here, and thank you for the work that you guys do. So, my name is Tess Holliday. I'm a plus size model, mom, author, and I also founded F Your Beauty Standards. And my entire life's work has been dedicated to advocacy of all shapes and forms. And now I get to sit down with you and talk about something I never thought that I would be discussing.
And I think that, I think that sometimes we have these we're pushed to have these conversations that we may not have ever imagined that we have. And when you do it, there's a complete shift in the society, in the world that we live in. And I will tell you that, I saw that shift happen when you started the F Your Beauty Standards movement. It was really extraordinary. One of the things that I hear time and time again is representation, that we're not represented. Folks, if folks can't be seen and heard, like they feel like they have a harder time existing in a world that may not be as inclusive for them. So can you just share a little bit more with me about why you started that movement? Like what motivated you to start, and how has it gone?
Yeah, sure. So I wanted to model from a very young age. Everyone told me that it was never going to happen because of my size and height. And then when I found myself in the modeling industry, I was a little old for most people. I was like 24. I was used to being bullied in person, but I never thought about really being bullied online while doing something I loved. I just assumed that I was this girl that like finally accomplished her dreams and people were going to be supportive. And it was quite, people were supportive, but also people were mean, shocker. And I was getting a lot of hate because this is very early on before, body positivity was as mainstream as it is now. And also I recognized that I wouldn't have the platform that I have if it wasn't for the Black femmes that paved the way before me. And so while I was the first, I definitely was not, truly the first. And as I started kind of going through just existing on the internet and sharing my modeling work and just who I was, a lot of people were being really mean about how I chose to dress my body. So a lot of folks would say, you're too fat to wear a sleeveless dress or wear a bathing suit or any of these things. And, this was in 2013. And I just remember thinking, that's silly. Like I can wear whatever I want to wear. So I sat down on my bed with Instagram and I posted 4 photos beside themselves of things that at that time, which is funny because now it's not as prevalent. At that time, larger bodied individuals were told that we couldn't wear. And I said, if you're tired of people saying, what you should and shouldn't wear because of your size, post something that you feel great in or post something that scares you and hashtag up your beauty standards. And it took off. And actually today is the 1-year anniversary from when our collection launched last year that sold out, and the proceeds went to benefit the Trevor Project.
I mean, incredible. Did you ever think that 14, when you up and you created the hashtag, that it would have had the momentum, and the fact that it had?
No, I did not. I still have moments where I have to even pinch myself that I get to live this life, and it's it definitely has its ups and downs, but knowing that I have been part of collectively helping others love themselves and maybe not even love themselves, but maybe just know that it's okay to just exist in the world, because oftentimes I feel like we say, you have to love yourself before this happens, and I've been guilty of that. But like, what if you don't love yourself? And that's okay. But just knowing that you're allowed to exist and take up space while you're trying to navigate possibly falling in love with yourself.
You know what, that as someone who walked the journey of recovery, from a very long experience with an eating disorder, I kept on getting told, you have to love yourself before anyone can love you. And I understood where they were coming from with it. But that was such bullshit. I'm so sorry. Like, I very much had to hold on to like the love and the acceptance from other folks before I was able to step into it from myself. And I think that what's so beautiful is when you have individuals like you that are willing to take a step out and put yourself out there and say, this is what I do. This is, I want to wear what I want to wear. I want to exist the way that I want to exist. And what you say is none of my damn business. It's not your damn business either. So it's just a reminder that you don't have to get to a certain point. You don't have to say where you love that reflection in the mirror, or can go, can say, walk naked and love everything about you. It starts now. It starts today. It starts in this moment.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I completely agree.
And I know that you you've been such a tremendous influence on designers and brands. And I mean, like what you shared, that the brand that, literally a year ago sold out. Um, what do you think? I do believe some designers are starting to do better. I definitely think brands need to do a lot better than what they're doing. We got that news from Old Navy yesterday, which was definitely, encouraging. But what do you think these designers and brands need to do to be more inclusive so that, for example, they sell more brands in store, that you're not just having to order online, and when, it's huge inconveniences of when something doesn't fit, you need to return. So how can designers and brands be better, show up better?
Your phone, you cut out a little bit at the end, but I think what you asked me was how, like, what do brands basically need to do to be like more inclusive and better in the plus size market, right? Um, Essentially, I do believe that the brands they need to expand their sizing. Um, there's a lovely individual, Saucy West, on Instagram, who's been kind of campaigning for brands to expand their sizing. And I think that that is, a large part of the problem, is that a lot of these brands have not been expanding their sizes. And often when they say it's a 3X, it's not traditionally a 3X. I'm a 3X, and often, I find myself having to wear 4X in brands. And it's also hard when companies don't have proper sizing charts, because that creates a lot of body dysmorphia for all of us, no matter what size you are, whether you identify it as plus size or if you're in a larger body. When you go to buy your size and it's not your size, that creates a spiral. And you can tell people all you want to not look at the sizes, but unfortunately we have to in order to dress our bodies. And it's a very big part of getting dressed. I also think that brands need to actually listen to consumers and customers, and like what we want and what we are asking for in the need. And I think that plus size brands could also do a better job at just being more diverse in general. And it would be really nice if things weren't as gendered as they are as well, because not every person in a larger body that's plus size, identifies as male or female. And, it would be nice to have allowances for folks to just be able to dress their bodies as they want and not have to worry about that. Because listen, it's hard enough to be alive, especially when you are in a marginalized body. So, it would just be nice if some of those things weren't things that had to be on the forefront of our mind just to exist and leave the house if we choose.
100%. Thank you so much for. So, I would really love to talk to you about, something that you recently shared about, your journey. You've recently opened up about being diagnosed with anorexia nervosa. I'm in the belief system that I believe that the term atypical anorexia nervosa is bullshit, and I think it's shrouded in weight discrimination and bias. So, for the purpose of this conversation, if it's okay, we're just going to call it anorexia nervosa.
Fine with me. Yeah.
Recently talked about your experience with anorexia, and that it at first was, surprising and confusing. Would love to hear more about your experience. Of course, just anything that you are comfortable with, of course, because, we live in a world that obviously has archaic definitions of what eating disorders are, what they look like, who they affect. And I'm just so very grateful that you've taken something and you've used your voice to let other people know that they're not alone. So, yeah, we'd just love to know a little bit more about your experience of that diagnosis and stepping into it.
I'm glad that we're talking, because I haven't discussed, my eating disorder since everything kind of, blew up when I did. I was not prepared at all for people's reaction to it. And also, I think my only regret, I'm fixing my hair. My only regret was that I would have been a little bit further along in my recovery before I shared it because I was not prepared at all for the reaction that it received. And that might be my own, me being naive, but uh, I had done a conference a year ago, actually, next month, with a few colleagues, and one of them in the social media realm was dietitian Anna, so Anna Sweeney, and she is my dietitian, and I love Anna so much. And I had done a conference with her, and after the conference, I was just really blown away by her, and I reached out and I said, I think I have disordered eating. I would like to kind of talk to you about if there's any resources, et cetera. And so we started working together. And it was a few months into our work that Anna said, listen, I can't diagnose you, but if I could, I would diagnose you as anorexia nervosa. And when she said that to me, I'll never forget, I was sitting right behind me at my kitchen counter, and I felt like, and this isn't my official diagnosis, I'm fast forwarding, but I went to a psychiatrist after and got a proper diagnosis. But I was already kind of prepared for that. But when Anna initially told me, I just felt like, the wind had been punched out of me. And I didn't understand because typically when we hear the diagnosis anorexia, it's associated with one body type, not my body type. And when I started explaining what I would do and the way that I would eat and the way I would restrict, I always thought that I binged because I would go long periods of time I'm not eating, and then maybe I would eat one thing or have like one burst, and then I would go however long without eating again. I thought that that's what binging was, until my dietitian and my psychiatrist was like, no, that's not what we're seeing in you. And I also felt like I needed to share it because for the first time in my life, I noticed I was still as active as I have been. I was feeding my body more, and my body was changing, and I couldn't understand. And I'll tell you, as somebody that's lived in a large body and hearing that diagnosis, it has really, it's been harder than I thought to wrap my brain around it, but also to try and heal it, especially when people, like in the comments right now, constantly tell me that I'm not anorexic, despite having a medical diagnosis and the entire medical community backing me. So it's just like you're constantly gaslit saying that you don't have it when you do. So it's just, you just, it's tough. That's why I talked about it. And I'm so grateful I did, because the amount of people that live in larger bodies that have reached out to me and said, thank you. Like, I felt like I was crazy until I heard you say this, has made all of this worth it.
And I mean, there's not even enough words to say thank you to you for your willingness. And I want to be very aware of the toll that it took on you, the effects that it had on you, and will also share with you how many individuals that we at the Alliance work with and reached out because of what you said, because you took your most private truth and said, this is what I'm experiencing. If I'm going through this, there's other people that are going through this too. And in that moment, Tess, people for the first time in their lives, after being on this planet for decades and decades, for the first time felt seen and heard and not so alone. And I will tell you that I hope that despite all the negative crap that you have to deal with, that you're able to take that and know what a game changer you are, what an effect you've had. Because as someone who experienced various types of eating disorders, lived in a smaller body and lived in a much higher weight body, I will tell you the one thing that I wanted more than anything in my life was for someone to say me too, or for someone to say, hey, I know how you're feeling, and I know that, the medical community and, the general community are going to make you feel a certain way. They're going to tell you certain things. And you deserve access to care. You deserve support. You deserve to live your life beyond disorder. So I can't even fathom what you've had to deal with. And I just need to say, and I definitely don't speak on behalf of the eating disorder community. I will speak on behalf of our nonprofit organization that is an organization for all humans that are experiencing all types of eating disorders. Thank you. Thank you for letting people know that they're seen, that they're heard, and that they are not alone. So I really, from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you. And just, no other words besides that. Many words, but no more words on that. But just out of curiosity, because we talked about the implications of you sharing your all this back and honestly this bullshit. What has been the most rewarding part for you? Would you say? I mean, in all of this, because I can only imagine the effects that it's had on you.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for saying all of that. It is hard, and I see a few folks in the comments saying me too, and and that fills me with so much hope, because the most rewarding part for me has been, I would say, the community, and also getting a diagnosis, like having somebody tell me this is what's going on, instead of me just punishing my body. Because yes, I love my body, and I have shouted that from the rooftops my entire career, but I also have an eating disorder, and I also don't feed my body properly, and I restrict it because societally I have always been told that being in a larger body, there's something wrong, or I'm not okay existing the way that I do. So it's like there's obviously a large part of me that knows it's okay to exist in the body I do, but then you have diet culture and everyone else coming in the other ear saying you need to change yourself to be loved and accepted and valued and seen. And so for me, being able to hear the words anorexia nervosa, and to be able to, once I finally understood it and start on the road to recovery, which is where I'm at, that has meant the world to me, because for the first time in my life, I'm able to view my relationship with food differently than I was doing it before, and to work through my feelings of guilt and shame of how I've treated myself and how I've allowed others to treat me because of all of this. So, the diagnosis, but also seeing everyone in the comments say me too, and that this is what they're dealing with, like, it makes it all worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope that you're able to link those comments. Just a few of them, folks wishing that they had you when they were younger, and, just and to be able to be part of a conversation like this. And, we've gotten so many comments about eating disorders, about, what causes them, like what contributes to them. None of us, Tess or myself, or any of the 29 million Americans that will experience an eating disorder, never woke up one day, looked out the window, and said, it's a beautiful day. I think I want an eating disorder today.
I know. Yeah.
Biopsychosocial illnesses, they're genetic in nature, and we can't just will them away, just how you can't will away a broken bone, you cannot will away an eating disorder. And journey to recovery is not linear. I'm sure it's what we all experience. One step forward, two steps back, three steps forward. And the truth of the matter, and I say this all the time, is that you don't recover to utopia. You recover to life, and life is not sunshine bunnies and rainbows all the time, but there are moments that, we have this amazing human in one of our virtual support groups. And they said, they were like, it's not sunshine bunnies and rainbows every day, but sometimes there's a waterfall and amazing moments. And so, for anyone who's listening, who's starting the journey to recovery, know that you deserving of recovery, that it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to happen overnight. And despite what the shitty between your ears is telling you, you get to do this. You get to show up for this. And please do not let society's archaic understandings and beliefs of what you, who they affect ever stop you from not feeling that you're not enough to be worthy of support. You're not enough to be worthy of help. So I'm overwhelmed with gratitude, Tess. Seriously, I will tell you, from when you first shared about your experience, the amount of inquiries, the amount of folks that have reached out has like blown our minds. And I just want you to know that is that not only are folks being recognized, but individuals reaching out for care and for helps. And that changes lives, that changes society, that changes courses. So I really want you to absolutely. I guess my question here, being absolutely one of the most influential game changers, body positivity advocates out there, how would you like to see this space, our space, grow, continue to evolve? Like, what would you love to see happen?
I think that within every community, there needs to be expansion for diversity, especially within the eating disorder community. I think that there are not enough folks of color, especially larger body folks of color, that are able to have their stories told and shared. And so, within this community as well and across the board, I just think that for so long, a lot of these spaces have really been Eurocentric and very, very Caucasian. And so what I want is for more diversity. And I want, like, imagine how people feel hearing me share my truth, what that would mean to, someone of color. And it doesn't even matter the age, because I often would say like a young, person of color, but really anyone. We all know that eating disorders do not discriminate, and that is all across the board. So I just would love for more diversity in general so that others can feel seen and heard, because like you said earlier, and like I say often, that representation and diversity really saves lives. And it is hard to like stick your neck out and be and share your truth and be kind of one of the first to do, something in your field. And I'm not saying me, and just folks in general. And so I understand that fear, but at the same time, knowing that you're not alone means so much. So I would love, for these spaces to be more diverse. I would love for a lot of change in the medical community. There's so much, weight bias, stigma, and fat phobia that really prevents folks like me in larger bodies getting the proper treatment that we deserve, and especially folks of color. They don't get treatment as well because for various reasons. And so there's issues with that. There's issues with accessibility, and affordability. So it's so challenging, because it's like, yes, folks understand that we need these diagnoses and we're not getting them, but it's like almost getting them feels impossible sometimes. And I understand that I was incredibly fortunate to have access to these things, but I would love for these things to be more accessible to folks that need them, because I wish that I would have had this diagnosis 10 years ago. Someone asked in the comments, how long have I been dealing with this? I have been dealing with disordered eating since I was 10. And, what I believe, when I believe what I'm dealing with now, probably 10 years. So, it's frustrating. But I do feel like hopefully these conversations and things like that can at least expand folks' mind and understand that, there's a lot that still needs to be done for everybody.
I could not agree with you more. You know, right now, so much of my reference points are our virtual support groups, and we've had over 1,000 people in 2021 alone. Definitely a silver lining to the pandemic when we had to shift from in-person groups to virtual. But it's been so beautiful, the diversity of humans that attend our groups. And we have this incredible member who is a Black woman in her 60s and shares quite often that she never knew that as someone who is Black and who's older, that she could have an eating disorder. It was never discussed. It was never talked about. It was never, and groups like ours and conversations like this are why we as an organization exist, so that we can be arming our front care responders, doctors, nurses, dentists, to be informed, and to not say the often very harmful and stupid shit, excuse my language, for what
No,
they
yeah.
you know true. And folks are struggling for way longer than they have to. And you're so right. Accessibility needs to be so much better when only 1 in 3 individuals that will experience an eating disorder has access to any type of help. And it's specifically individuals that are in marginalized, bodies that have even less accessibility. Something needs to be done. And so that's what we're here for. That's what the Alliance does. And we will continue to do that because eating disorders don't happen in silos. They don't affect one type of human. They really do discriminate. And we will continue to do the work and to show up because it's imperative that we do. Too many folks are dying. Too many folks are losing their life.
Yeah.
Too many hours and minutes, years are going. And the fact that even you sharing that you've been experiencing this since you were 10, and specifically this for the last decade, we need to do better. We have to do better.
Yeah.
And so I'm blown away by your willingness to have this conversation. I know what it's like to be some of the first. I founded the organization when I was 21 years old, 21 years ago, and nobody wanted to have a conversation about eating disorders. They were like, it's not important. It's a disease of choice. It's a disease of vanity. And it sucks to have to sometimes continue to show up. And
Yeah.
I know the privilege I have, all the privileges I have. And so I will also share with you that the Alliance is the thing that I'm most proud of in my life. Because when you go through something, and this is why I'm so incredibly grateful for you, Tess, is you have the choice to go through it and close the door and never talk about it again, which is absolutely okay. To change the course of others' lives. And that is what you have done. That is what you continue to do, despite all the roadblocks, despite all the adversity, despite all the bullshit that you're given, you still show up. And because of you, it's a game changer. So I just wanted to say thank you. And please continue to have conversations, and know that, the last thing that I would just share with you is that, it does get better. It's not straight. It's very, but the best part about it is when you're not alone. There are folks all around you. So thank you so much. Thank you for who you are, for what you do. And I would love to continue the conversation with you. Anything that we in the Alliance can do to support you. Here.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate it. And I appreciate the work that you guys do. And, it's hard to definitely exist in a space, in a world that, you know, folks are always the loudest and the angriest about things that they don't understand. And, I try my best to have as much compassion and empathy towards those that don't understand it, because there's an old saying that floats around that I use often that says, never waste your time explaining yourself to people that are committed to misunderstanding you. And I use that often, but I also now try to just practice more empathy and compassion, because I understand that when people look at me and they look at my body type and They think, there's folks that do have eating disorders that look at me and they think, they get angry because they're like, there's no way you can have an eating disorder because, I am, I have this and you don't look like this. And there's so much that has to be unpacked there as well. And so, I'm glad that we're having this conversation because I've been thinking about all of this a lot, and a lot of my followers have been asking for an update for how I'm doing with my recovery. And I was just telling Anna yesterday when we talked that I'm really struggling currently with how much I want to share versus how much I'm able to share because of my own recovery. Because when I first talked about this a few months ago, I was in a really good place. And then having your name across the globe for a better part of a month and everyone kind of dissecting my body and who I am in really gross ways really kind of spiraled me a bit. So I'm in a okay place now. And I'm glad that we're having this conversation because I even need to be reminded that I'm not just going to like magically recover one day and things are going to be perfect. And I think it's the grace that I need to kind of give to myself. And anyone watching and listening as well, give yourself grace, and give yourself the love that you would give somebody else. And that's something I'm just trying to work on. So I appreciate the work that you guys are doing. And I know that it's not easy, but, you guys are helping save lives. And, if I can share my little story and hope that it helps others, then I'm going to do it. And I just am glad to have support from a wonderful, organization like you guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you again for talking about, I think so many of us at disorders are in this mindset that we have to recover, we have to be healed, we have to right away because it's very much in line with a lot of our temperament and the journey recovery, or whatever word, whether you use the word in recovery or whatever, right? Time. It's a lifelong, journey. It's you don't like it's the end of the book. The end is always another chapter. And I think that when we're able to, like what you said, give ourselves grace, be accountable, be vulnerable, and even in moments that don't feel so great to do so, that's when we keep on taking another step. And the one thing that I will always stand in is that, we keep on thinking that we have to do these major strides for recovery, but baby steps and rest are how we get to that journey. So, just that reminder is that our when we start, asking ourselves or bullying ourselves or getting angry with ourselves that we're not there yet, that we haven't gotten there yet, it's giving ourselves grace that this shit's really hard, and it's been decades for some of us. And for anybody who's listening, that there is life beyond your eating disorder, and it gets better, and it gets so much better. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be life. So just that reminder. And if there's anything that we at the Alliance can do to help anyone, we can refer all levels of care. Anna is one of our most favorite humans out there in fact yesterday. But all the way from dietitians all the way up to acute medical stabilization. And again, to remind folks that this Saturday, we have our support group half marathon. So from 11 o'clock a.m. to 7:30 p.m. every hour on the hour is a free therapist-led support group for individuals experiencing loved ones. We had a 16-hour one in February, and we had almost 1,700 people that attended. Please come if you need support. And Tess, I just want to say again, thank you. This conversation has filled in my soul. I so many people that utilize our services that were part of today's conversation that literally. Any last words that you want to share?
No, I mean, I'm just so grateful for this conversation and for, for your guys' support. And yeah, I just want to just piggyback on what you said to everybody, listening is that it gets better, it gets better. And I feel freer and happier now than ever. And, it's a good feeling. Yeah.
Well, thank you all to everyone who or just so much. Everybody careful right now, and we'll talk with you soon. Have a great night. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.